Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's the worst house guest experience you've had? My aunt came to visit for what was supposed to be a week or two and didn't leave for almost a year when I was a kid. She redecorated my room and even put up pictures of herself. Now the running joke in my family is to randomly leave pictures of yourself around the house when we visit people. Oh, that's so funny. Reminds me of a guy I used to work with who used to take pictures of himself and his family to IKEA. Over a long while he put them in the frames in all the displays. Nearly pissed myself when I went one day and spotted a pic of him on a beach somewhere in a bedroom display. That is hysterical. It reminds me of instant ancestors. Many years ago, my mother and I ran across a bunch of old framed photos at a thrift store. My mother bought the whole box. We hung a few of them up in the house with the old photos still in them. We call them our instant ancestors. My uncle was supposed to fly on a trip, so he was going to stay for a couple days. Instead he went like fuck this shit and spent the whole summer with us. Man, to be fair, I would love that if my bros decided to just stay all summer. My wife on the other hand even put up pictures of herself. This is hilarious. It reminds me of the Dave Chappelle skit where the cops accuse a black man of breaking into a home and putting up pictures of his own family. The joke is that it's really his house. I saw this before when I was a rookie. Just sprinkle some crack on him and let's get out of here. My dad had a cousin who did this exact same thing. Supposed to be a couple weeks or so, went on for a year. Hung her family pics in the hallway. And not even with a nail, but huge screws. My dad was too nice to ask her to leave, so it was up to my grandfather and I. She passive-aggressively hung them up, I took them down and put them in her bed in the same passive-aggressive fashion. She got so pissed that she finally moved out but wrote my dad hate-filled threatening letters for a couple of years. She thought they were going to get married, literally said so in the letters. They were first cousins. She was so nuts. My dad was too nice to ask her to leave. She thought they were going to get married. I have bad news for you, they 100% slept together. Your dad 100% played Les Cousins Dangereux with her. Your dad moved his cousin in to bang her. He cranked my dad's speakers up to the max and blew them. They were from the 70s, so impossible to replace or repair. Then he clogged our toilet, grabbed a bunch of grandma's quilts to sop up the water. He then tried to stop the water by violently shacking the tank, cracking the bowl and dislodging it from its base. In a panic he tried to bolt from the house, his wet feet slipped on the wood floor and he crashed into a wall, leaving a nice body-sized impression. That's how my brother's friends was barred from the house. How old was this guy? How do people like this even survive in the world? He was 13 at the time. My uncle and his wife came to stay for a while. They got my room and I slept on the couch for a few months, NBD when you're a kid, I guess. What actually ticked me off is that when they finally left we found out that they'd seriously messed up my room. Everything reeked of cigarettes, there were ground up peanut shells in the carpet, cigarette burns on my mattress, etc. And we couldn't figure out why the room smelled like death until we lifted up the bed and found mummified cat shit stuck up in the shag carpeting. They either had such bad hygiene that they didn't notice the smell or they knew and they just didn't care. *edit. To everyone asking how we didn't notice the cigarette smell, my guess is that they only smoked in the room during the day when everyone was out, probably smoked out the window. My parents weren't smokers, we just figured the smell was coming from their bodies, which we couldn't do anything about. Plot twist, they were on meth. No way this happens unless hard drugs are involved. I had ex-friends crash in my spare room for a bit to get on their feet. Left the room absolutely arsed, but the worst thing was finding a dried cat turd mashed in the carpet under a bookshelf. Thing is, it would have been physically impossible for the cat to get under the shelf to poop there, which means they found a mess from their animal and just put my bookshelf on top of it rather than clean it up. Holy shit, what is wrong with people? Housemate had people come over, order a pizza, decide they didn't want it and refuse to answer the door so they didn't have to pay at 4 a.m. Pizza guy could hear them through the door, so kept knocking louder and louder. I eventually went to the door and opened it, then explained to the pizza guy what was going on, so that they didn't blacklist the property, and forced them to pay. As they were packing to leave the next day, I noticed them trying to take some of my extra PS4 controllers by sneaking them into their bag. I'm normally an introvert, but already being cranky from no sleep, I lost my shit at that point. Called them a disgusting thief and told them to gtfo. Controllers are expensive, fuck those hoes. Yo, fuck those hoes even if they weren't expensive though. Come in my house and steal shit mf'er. What kind of psychopath changes their mind about pizza? Also, when you order food that late you have to commit. Unfortunately, if they were going to take your controllers, you may have been missing other things. Shortly after I caught a house guest taking a game cartridge and sneaking it into his pocket, I kicked him out. Then a week later, I noticed my collectible trading cards were missing, someone rearranged my comic book collection and a couple was missing. I had an extensive collection of toys on a shelf, some wrapped, and there are missing spots here and there. I know they're missing, but can't tell what. As a young teen with limited resources, it hurt. I stopped inviting any guests over unless they were childhood friends or someone I knew for years and years. I had a few friends over one night and had admittedly had way too much to drink. Apparently friends had invited their friends over during the craziness. Woke up to find medication missing. Brand new DVDs were gone. I wonder what else they took that I just never realized was gone. Not knowing is a really crappy feeling. It was 10 years ago, so I don't care anymore, but it definitely was a wake-up call. It's weird knowing someone had free reign over your house, could have been rifling through your drawers, putting things in their pockets here and there, and it's your own fault. That would be the girl visiting my sister-in-law who decided it would be funny to repeatedly prank call 911. I got a very angry call from the local police station saying we either stopped or they'd be sending a squad car over. Apologized profusely to the officer and thanked him for calling us first. She was not invited back to her house, she was 17 and definitely old enough to know better. Isn't abuse of 911 an actual crime? In Florida the first false alarm call is not, but usually the second time is an explanation saying that they will get charged if this continues, unless it was explained the first time. Anything after you will probably get charged. My ex-wife's friend had her car break down, and our apartment was right on a bus route to her job. She was supposed to stay over for a week while she got her car fixed. After 2 months and a lot of warning, we packed her bags for her and put them by the door. How long did she crash on the porch? My dad owned a business his whole life and was in the process of hiring new installers. One applicant came in from out of town and my dad, being the kind man he was, offered for him to stay in our home. When the morning came, the man went to take a shower. My parents heard the water turn on and it stayed on for a really long time. After an hour and a half of running water, my mom made my dad go check on him. My dad went upstairs, picked the lock on the bathroom door, and found blood and a limp body on the floor next to the running shower. The man had overdosed, lost consciousness, hit his head on the shower side, and died. He was dead. Right there on the bathroom floor that I used for 10 years. One thing is for sure, he won't be coming back to our house again. This one caught me off guard, lol. Yeah, everything else in the thread was people being assholes, and suddenly we get a death. Wife's cousin stayed a couple days with us. After he left, I discovered he purchased about $60 worth of porn on DirecTV. Who are these monsters who pay for porn? Especially on TV, let alone someone's other than theirs. Just jerking it in the living room in the afternoon while everyone pretends the world isn't burning down around them. He crashed on our couch and this was overnight. Instead of asking where the toilet paper is, they let their kid wipe his ass with our guest towels. Was there extra toilet paper in the bathroom, or were they too lazy to look? They were overnight guests. There were definitely more rolls, they just didn't look around _o_forward/. Sister-in-law house sat when we were out of town. There were tons of disrespectful presents left for us, a cookie crumb trail of condom wrappers, which lead to an actual used condom like WTF. But the worst was after cleaning all that up, which was just aggravating and stupid, there was a putrid smell I couldn't put my finger on. Until I finally opened a drawer in the dresser in the guest room. She had left a takeout container in there, half an omelette that had gone rancid. I gotta hope she just had to go quick and forgot all that crap was there when she left. Either way, we took our key back from her. It's so interesting to see some people's habits. Yikes. I never had these type of house guests, but we had plenty of filthy guests at the hotel. Similar concept, you have to wonder what they are like at home. Trail of condom wrappers. Follow the yellow dick road. My old roommate told me she had a friend who had fallen on rough times and needed a spot to crash for a while. No worries, I told her. Oh, big worries. He was a professional beatboxer, but more that he was a professional smoker. Like, I'm fine with weed generally, but this dude was on 12 to 15 blunts a day, and would roll one as soon as he rolled his tighty-whitey clad ass off of our couch. So for like 4 months, as soon as I woke up, it was nothing but clouds of white owl and brrrmmchkchk. He didn't fall on rough times. He was a rough time. brrrmmchkchk. I've never seen beatboxing spelled out before and I never want to again. This is the pinnacle. My friend asked if her brother, who I'd never met, could crash on my couch for the night. Her boyfriend wouldn't let him stay with them. My roommate and I agreed, just for the night. Then the next night, he got in a fight with the person he was supposed to stay with, and had to crash on my couch again. Stuff like that kept happening. Then he just stopped trying to find somewhere else to stay and started taking our spare key, staying out till I went to bed, and then coming in and crashing on the couch. His phone was off so I could never reach him when he was out unless he was connected to Wi-Fi. He got a job at a tattoo parlor and would brag about how much money he made, but never contributed or saved the money to move out. He blew it all on weed. I seriously don't know how someone could spend that much on weed. He was there for almost 2 months before he lied and snuck in a girl he'd met in rehab who had felony arrest warrants out for her. I'd said I didn't want her in the apartment, and I caught them sneaking out the next morning 5 minutes before my alarm was to go off. I got upset with him and said it was not okay to lie to me and hide things from me. He freaked out and made up a bunch of stuff that he told my roommate and my friend, his sister, said I called him a useless junkie, etc. I've had a lot of friends struggle with addiction. I'd never ever say something like that. After having my roommate scream at me over the lies the guy told, I was done. He wasn't allowed back. It was a good thing I made him leave. Turns out he was slipping back into old habits. The next person who let him stay with them got robbed. He's been in and out of jail. My friend asked if I could help put money on his commissary thing. I hope the guy eventually gets cleaned up, but it's not my mess.